Welcome to the White Knuckle Podcast with your hosts, Jason Science and Dr. Clint McCoy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the White Knuckle Podcast, episode number 146 or 147, and what will probably be either our last or second to last grind report. The reason we didn't call it the rut report is because it's not really just the rut that we're all grinding on or out. It's just the end of the season. And when things really ramp up and slow down. But anyway, I'm joined by my my co-host, the good doctor, Clint McCoy. How's it going, Clint?
Hey everyone, how are you, Jason?
I'm dreamy. Like I woke up this morning and had the unfortunate realization that, other than a Wisconsin archery tag and a upcoming Missouri muzzleloader tag, it's kind of over. We've got muzzleloader season here, but I filled my tag unexpectedly. You have another season coming up. I saw you were online begging for shells. Not really begging. I'm just kidding.
That worked out really good. I would encourage everyone to panhandle. Like I would encourage everyone to panhandle on Facebook like I did. And man, the shells just come rolling in. It worked out great. No, man, I don't have a tag. I don't have a tag either because I tagged out during gun, just like you, man. But I've got the missus. She's got a tag. The boy wonder himself has a tag, and we're fixing to take it to him in round 2. Our gun opens again this Thursday, so
okay.
It'll be wild and woolly as usual, but the movement's definitely slowing down.
And it's been slow. So since our last podcast, which we released on the 17th of November, we took Thanksgiving week off, which would have been the Wisconsin gun deer season. We talked, I believe, on the 17th about how it was pretty much locked down by you. For me, I said it was all over. I'm going to guess that you're saying now that it's all over as well.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. If I had to consider when, lockdown was really happening, it was that like 5 to 7 day window between like the 17th to the 24th or so. Like I was seeing quite a bit of lockdown behavior, where multiple bucks would be in the field tending one doe or trying to, during that weekend of the 20th through the 22nd was really, really pronounced. But it's really, since then, over the last 7 days, it has trickled, and I haven't seen, it's been 4 or 5 days since I've seen any kind of like really crazy tending behavior and intense breeding activity. Bucks are still on their feet a little, and we do see some bucks that are still visible right now, but it's definitely, like I saw yesterday, I saw 3 different bachelor groups of bucks on a drive scout. So it's definitely, I feel like the rut is essentially over for us.
Sure. The morning of the 21st, which would have been the Wisconsin opener, I was sitting in a pretty big block of timber, and there was like a 2-year-old with maybe 7 or 8 does and fawns that got bumped off of a ridge, and they all came down by me, and that must have piqued the curiosity of a badass 8-point that I know. And he came I didn't know it was him until I was watching in the binoculars. I had the camera pulled way back so I could sort of capture everything, and he came in and just like everything scattered, including that smaller buck, and then I saw that it was him, but he only had he only had his left main beam. He's old. He's real old. I'd say he's 6.5. So there was still a little bit of posturing behavior, if you will, going on, but he just messed with him and then left. But I actually, on the night that I killed, I actually saw that buck again. And it was interesting to watch the dynamics of the field change when he entered.
He's bully.
He's a bully. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But before we
I've got one down here that's really similar to that. We call him Unibomb, and he's got a G1 that's like his right G1 is like weirdly like 9 inches, and he's just terrible. And what are you laughing at?
The Unibomb. You guys have
he's
the best
awful,
name.
and he's a terrorist. Is why we call him that, because he's got that big G1 and he will beat the brakes off of anything. We think he's a 6.5 or 7, but he's just a turd rack. There is a 2.5 or a 3.5-year-old buck in that same block of timber that has both his main beams broken completely off below the brow tine. And I've got video of Unibomb like posturing to him, and like, this sumbitch is mean as a snake, and everybody's got like, orders. Hey, you see Unibomb, just knock the tar out of him.
Right.
We need to get him out of there because he's liable. A buck like that is liable to really impinge on another buck that you might be hunting that might be way more quality than you want to kind of keep him around.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, Unibomb just beat the shit out of him and run him off.
Sure.
Like take him out. So those bully bucks like that are cool, dude.
Yeah.
Even though they're ugly, they're cool.
If he would have had both, he's a great looking deer. He just has been able to avoid getting killed here the last few years. He just only has one main beam, and his other one is broke off 4 inches above his base. He's had to have been in a hell of a scrap to break that big of a bone. Well, we have 3 8-points on that lease that are busted off, and 2 10s that are busted off. Well, one of the 10s is busted off at the G3, and he's a big deer. He's a 155, 65 inch 4-year-old, just good looking buck, and he just cowered to that 8-pointer, that half rack in the field. I'm just like, what? Come on, you got bigger stones.
Those bucks like that, they're totally killable. But man, I have really good luck around, like, those are bucks that I'll call to just whenever I see him. Boy, I'll grab a call and really try and get inside his head, and maybe go up the ladder with some calls, some snort wheeze, a rattling sequence, if I can lay eyes on him. I don't want him, I don't want to be in the timber with a deer like him in that area and do a bunch of bullshit blind calling.
Mm-hmm.
You do that and he slips in behind you, your odds of tipping him off are pretty good. But man, if you can get a visual on him and you can set yourself up so he won't backdoor you, or maybe call to him when he's at least in that proper wind cone and stuff like that, man, you can really work one of those over, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Tell me what happened with your firearms hunt, with your shotgun or muzzleloader.
Oh man, that was the 20th. So the Friday morning, we have our Illinois gun season is just a 3-day weekend and then a 4-day weekend later. And I'd actually hunted on the ground in some natural cover 2 evenings before that, and we've been seeing a buck that we call Dr. Brown. He's really wide base 10-pointer. This is a great deer, and he'd been daylighting in this creek basin quite a bit. And I went in there with a lone wolf on my back and just hung it in a tree big enough that it took me 2 straps to get it around it, but I was only like 6 foot off the ground. I just used one stick, and it was kind of up in a blowdown, and it wasn't 7:30. A doe came running from the field edge into that creek basin with me, and she jetted up the ridge behind me, and about 20 minutes later, he come and sniffed the spot where she'd stopped, and I had the camera backed way out, and when I was filming it self-film style, and you can see it perfect in video, he stops and gives me a looking away shot at like 40 yards, and that is a big mistake. If you're looking away from me and I've got a scope gun, boy, that's big trouble. And
right
I shot him, and he dropped within 15 steps of the tree. It was a wild hunt, though. It happened really, really fast. Like, he was on me in seconds, but he covered a lot of ground and had to make a lot of decisions to get to me. You know, it was a wild hunt, but we were really stoked about it. I saw another bigger buck that morning, tried to get my boy on. We just never could close it down. Then we had 2 days worth right after that of really shitty rain and wind. It was just miserable conditions to hunt in, but the deer were still moving. Mornings were awesome in that crappy rain. We were seeing a lot of bucks doing some, still some heavy tending behavior out in fields, and it was tough conditions for gun. Nobody likes to sit in the pouring rain and wind like we had, but it could have been done, but it was a bit slower this year for our gun than normal because of the simple weather pole, I think.
Sure. Cool. Well, that was the 20th, right? So that would have been Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Friday morning right off the bat, yeah.
Yeah, and I went in the evening of the Thanksgiving evening, and the day we released Todd's tribute show, and just went in and hunted a food plot. We had 5 acres of real world Gen 2 beans. I think you've heard me talk about that food plot before, and it was an incredible night. Probably one of the best nights I've ever had in terms of deer and just seeing nature take place in front of you. It was super cool. I don't know. I think I ended up passing 8 bucks that night. And I would say 6 of the 8 were over 3 years old, or were 3 or older. And of those 6, 3 were busted off. On their main beam, but it was just a show of shows. I mean, it started early, and there was really no rhyme or reason to it. It was relatively. So
that's what I was going to ask you. Like, when we got off the horn last time, you were talking about the rut fading, and you guys up north there in Wisconsin seeing about a week quote ahead of us during their annual patterns or whatever you want to call them, and
yep.
So what, you had a hell of a hunt there, it sounds like. What gives? Why?
No clue.
At that stage, why?
I think that they were tired. It was so we really trying to be strategic about what we're doing. And it's Wisconsin, for heaven's sake. So you need to keep the pressure off if you're going to have any chance on killing anything after opening day. So one of the things that we do is we don't penetrate the timber really at all. We get in and get out as stealthy as we can. We've got a couple of electric rangers and just zip in and zip out, or an electric bike, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So we stayed out, and what happens is a domino effect basically starts taking place as you get into that week farther, because not everybody does that. So deer are ultimately going to go where they're not pressured. So they end up coming there, and it was kind of funny because I talked to the guy that previously owned it. He was out walking his dogs, and I just stopped and said hi, and he said, what are you picking on tonight? And I said, Johnny, I said, there really isn't a buck that I'm interested in shooting. I said, I'm just going out to relax and chill out. And, lo and behold, a bonus buck ended up showing up, and I killed him. So I really can't tell you that there was any, extreme strategy to it other than our overall strategy, which was pressure off, let them hit the food, stay out of the food. In the especially the mornings. We didn't hunt the food at all in the mornings. If we hunted in the morning, we stayed relatively close to the edge, just to get out. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah. And I just sat there, and I'd say about 3:00 it started, and closing time was 4:44 that evening, I believe. And I was honestly packing up because it was an overcast, cloudy night. Quite damp.
Oh yeah, and you lose a lot of light then on nights like that. Yeah.
Yep, and it was like, I looked at my watch and it was 4:30. I'm like, good Lord, I've got 15 minutes yet or thereabouts, and I looked up and I'm like, oh, whoa, where did he come from? And instantly I'm like, shooter. It's got to be a shooter, and I want to be really careful on this farm, and because we've got some pretty strict rules that we've all agreed, to, and you don't want to let everybody else down, and you don't want to be that guy, So I had that. Remember the Weatherby I told you about that my dad, clocked himself in the face with and all that good stuff. So I had that gun. I had my Tacticam scope mount on it, and so my first instinct was to grab the gun, and I'm like, nope. Grab your binoculars, and I'm telling you what, if you spend any time sitting in an enclosed blind like we've got out there, we've got 8 or 10 of those muddy bull blinds over the 600 acres that we've got there. If you spend any time in one of those, buy yourself one of those $14 tripod adapters for a set of binoculars and just set it inside that blind. And so I set that. I grabbed it, put it up. I'm like, yep, definitely a shooter. And then I put my gun up, and I'm like, I don't know, put it back down. So I had the Tacticam running the whole time, so you could see me put my gun up, down, up, down, up, down. And the fourth time I put it up, I looked at my watch, and I remember looking, and it was 4:41 or 2, and I'm like, damn it, I got to make a decision here. And I don't know what I was waiting on, but man, I got, and with that Tacticam scope mount, it does, I don't know if it increases the focal length or whatever, but you want to just crowd that scope a little bit more, right? Because you can't see, oh shit, here it comes. So I'm like, all right, just lean into it, nice and easy, just squeeze the trigger. Like, is it a shooter? Yeah, it's got to be a shooter. Look at that G3 that's split. All right, here we go. I'm like, oh, wait. I look, the video camera's recording. He turns, and he's quartered to me, but he's quartering. I didn't think he was quartering as hard as he was, and touched off the trigger and freaking saw lightning bolts and I don't know what, but I'm like, oh, what just happened?
Out, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's blood running down my face. It busted up my nose good. It busted up my nose real good. And the deer
socked you right between the eyes.
Yeah, the deer ran off, and I'm like, I missed, and I was just freaked out. And I don't even know what I was thinking. I left all my stuff in there, and I grabbed the 2 cards out of with the exception of the 2 cards that were in the video camera. I grabbed those and threw them in my pocket, and I got in the truck, and I ran to go pick up Travis, and I'm not even thinking. I don't even know what I was thinking at that point. I was so upset because I felt like I just missed a booner, right? And anyway, a really long story short, one of the guys that hold on just a second, Clint. I gotta go. That's a fire. I'll call you later. All right, back from the fire / EMS call. Clint and I have reconvened, I think almost a week later, maybe a little bit more. Since then, you've gone through another firearm season. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I ended up killing that buck that I was talking about and hitting myself in the nose with a scope and blood everywhere. And he ended up being a great buck. And really just, I've had an incredibly good year, and I can't really attribute it to my my extensive whitetail knowledge. I think I was in the right place at the right time and made the right choices. I guess that's whitetail knowledge, right?
Isn't it all? That's what it's all about. I mean, if you think about it, we put a lot of. Think about how many hours you sit back and constantly think about deer and deer hunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it all boils down to that one brief chance encounter. Like that could happen any day of the season, anywhere, anytime. Hell, I just read a story about an 80-year-old grandma that blasted a booner out of her kitchen window while she was fixing her husband a sandwich. Now this is down in Texas now. So, but that's the beauty of, in my opinion, of what like gun season is all about. Like everybody that can shoot is on a pretty level playing field. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a lot of it is being in the right place at the right time. But I just love that story. But you're right on point with that.
It was, and as many calculated guesses as we make and are wrong every once in a while, that calculated guess turns out to be the right guess.
Yeah, it's that so 2% of the time that it works, it keeps you coming back.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, just as a group, we had a great year. Just on our new lease, we got one of the boys, the young boys, 9 years old, shot probably a 6 or 7 year old deer that it's just oddly enough he fell in love with the deer, and he called him Goofy. Because he did have a goofy rack. He was just goofy. Turned out he was blind in one eye, couldn't see out of the other.
Wild.
No, he was blind in the one eye, and in that particular side, I don't know whether the two correlate, but that side that his eye was bad on, his horn was goofed up on, and so he had named him Goofy, and here he came on, it would have been the opening Sunday of gun season, and then so Sam shot that then, big old deer. Jack, his brother, shot one that same afternoon after. I mean, this kid's 14 years old, Clint, and he sat in the center of the timber, in the center of the 220 acres, 2 days straight, dawn
Attaboy.
to dusk. 14 years old. Could you have done that at 14?
Probably not. And then no way in hell. No.
Not a chance.
No, because I would have had no one teach me what to wear and where to,
Right.
It. I would have died out there. But if you're steeped in knowledge from a real young age,
Right.
14 years old is when a lot of kids start getting it, I think. And kudos to him, because it's all day sits, especially in your neck of the woods, kid. What was the temperature that day up there?
Well, in the interest of full disclosure, he was sitting in a muddy box blind deep in the timber.
Oh, dude, I could sit all day when I was 12.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't. No way. I'd have been mental.
No, hell no, I couldn't.
And
I drove myself crazy.
And to make things worse, where he was sitting, and I don't know if his dad did this by design or not, but where he was sitting had virtually no cell service, so you could communicate with him sporadically throughout the day. But he made it 2 days in late that afternoon on the second day. Did
he have to bring an actual paper book to read, just in case?
I don't know if he did or not. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, but
I would have lost it then. You can't get on if you got no cell service out there. Boy, I'd have had something to do.
Right. He had a lot of deer to look at.
That's always a plus.
Yeah, I mean, he was sitting in a spot that, well, it was sitting real close to the spot that I taped or filmed David Blanton shooting that big one a couple of years ago. So,
So you guys were gar-holing him then?
yeah, definitely. No, he had the best spot on the farm, and he earned it. He earned it.
Yeah.
He's a great kid. He's a crazy turkey hunter. Like this year when COVID hit, I don't think that he realized at the time that he had just hit the jackpot, because he did not miss one day of a Wisconsin turkey hunting season all year. And the principal at 8th grade graduation said, "It's a good thing turkey hunting season quit 3 weeks before school did, because I don't know if you'd have passed otherwise."
Oh wow, good.
Because they were
good
doing.
to see kids that young get into it though, man. Like,
Oh yeah, he's definitely into it.
you think about it. Like, isn't it different nowadays? Like, I think every generation says this, right?
Yeah, they do.
Like, oh, it's different now. It's different now than it used to be when I was a kid. But it is like there's just so many things that can take up a kid's mind and time that we didn't used to have like 30 years ago when I was just starting out.
Well,
and
yeah,
that's
exactly.
a big challenge for a kid. I think that's a big challenge in hunter recruitment nowadays. It is, kids have just so much going on gaga in the background all the time.
Yep.
That hunting may not appeal to them.
Yeah, the speed at which information comes to these kids is, I don't know. I'm sure there's some expert that's figured out the difference, the exponential difference between when we were, in our teens and now. I think I read just recently. I was reading a study. I don't remember what it was revolving around, but it was saying that within 10 years, that information will take less than 10 minutes to become public. Whereas when we were kids, what did it take? 10 months? 10 weeks? I don't know what the number
you think
is.
about this too. Today, so we're re-recording this on Pearl Harbor Day, and I just read an article about a local guy here that went to World War II, and they didn't get the news of Pearl Harbor attack out in the country until like 2 or 3 days later. So think about that on a timeline, how things have changed.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I read something similar. It was like December 9th or 10th, because it was December 7th, 42, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And and it was like the 9th or 10th before people actually knew the totality, at least, of what happened, and
right.
in some cases just were learning about it. It was crazy. But a lot was still
back
different.
to the hunting. Yeah, and back to the kid hunting thing, like not only is information coming faster, but like it's always becoming more and more and more and more digitized.
Mm-hmm.
with the whole being homeschooled or learning from home now. A lot of this stuff with COVID-19, it's all, a lot of the kids' education is all coming through the World Wide Web, and it's kids are getting a lot of background noise that's disconnected from the natural world. Man, it's cool to see kids bucking that trend and going hunting at a young age and really taking an interest into it. That's good stuff. We need more of that.
Like, I have to, my hat's off to his parents, and both of those boys' parents and the girls. They got 2 girls and a boy, and they're my neighbors. But there's not, to the best of my knowledge, there's not a video game in the house. Like, not a video game. As a matter of fact, we were somewhere, and I don't remember, and one of the kids said to Sam, he said, "Hey, you want to go play Xbox something?" And Sam's like, I don't know what that is. No,
I'm going to go outside and go kill something for real with a real gun.
Right. So, there's still a few kids out there like that. Not that playing video games is bad, and I'm not ripping on anybody for doing that. It's just that.
No, but it's good to see kids take interest in the natural world and the hunt, and that's a good segue. We had our gun season, our second firearm season here this last weekend. And, my stepson Troy came into my life when he was like 11 or 12, and he'd never even been to the woods, like, period, ever. And it was really fun for him to take interest in hunting and take up to it. And, this weekend he was hunting solo, and he killed a real nice 8-pointer, by himself at 17 now. And he's a big enough, mature enough kid that, I trust him out there hunting by himself like a grown adult. And that's been a real fulfilling journey in my hunting life. It's been one of the coolest things to watch. You had a hand in it, but he's also taken charge and ran with it himself. That's cool to see.
Yeah, that's good. That is cool. That's awesome. I've not had that pleasure yet with my son. He just his hunting time has been limited because of sports throughout high school and now being in the Marines. It's been very limited, but he is coming home on the 19th, so I'm super excited about that. We'll have I'll get a solid week with him before I leave for a hunting trip on the 26th, and we've got some good spots to hunt, so we'll get out and hopefully he can
that'll be good.
Connect the dots and put something together.
What is going on while we're on the subject? What is going on in you guys' neck of the woods when it comes to the deer herd?
Well, it's been odd. So the night that I shot mine, just it wouldn't have been one of those nights where Drury's Deercast would have said, "Get your ass in the stand," because it's going down.
Yeah,
it just wasn't, and they will be the first to admit it's not a perfect indicator. And I think we both know that, even just within our tight group of white knuckle guys, you can have a conversation on any given night, and the results can be so, vastly different from one another. But shortly after that, the weather got real cold. They became really predictable. One of the guys on the lease shot the deer that he was after. He put in his time and went after him, killed a 182 off of that, which was really cool. It was fun to see a guy that's only been hunting for 3 years just get completely eaten up by one deer. And it was like it's his life's work. And when he called me that morning, like I had a migraine, and it was one of those bad ones that I very seldom get. But so I had taken my phone and stuck it in the living room under a pillow, so I wouldn't hear it vibrate, I wouldn't hear it go off. And of course, I heard it kept going off, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" And who's calling at 6:40, and I look, and it was him, and so I call him up, and I'm like, waiting for him to pick it up. He doesn't pick up, and he had called me like 4 times. So his son called me shortly thereafter and said, "Dad shot wires," and I said, "Huh?" And it was one of those situations, Clint, where it makes you step back and think sometimes, how much do we overthink what we're doing? Because he went into an unpicked cornfield. The headlands are picked. And you've heard me talk about this cornfield before.
Right.
He went in there every night of the season, very surgically. We would drive in and pick him up, so none of the deer knew the blind that was being used. Those blinds are pretty well airtight. You can sit there. I've done it now a number of times on the wrong wind. As long as you keep the window shut till that time, when you need to shoot, you're in good shape. And he just, he was smart about it and put his time in every morning, every night. He obviously only hunted that corn at night because we just told him, we said it's suicide to go in there, right, in the morning, because you're going to blow them out, right? You'd think. Well, that morning it would have been the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Travis was doing something. I was having a headache, and he woke up, and I think he told me that he and his wife had a conversation. She's like, "Just go hunting. You've been after this deer forever." And he's like, "You know what? I'm just gonna do what I think I should do, or whatever." And he went to that cornfield. He got there at 5 in the morning, in the darkest of dark, climbed up into that blind, laid down on the floor, took a nap until it got light enough to where he could see. He said he
just like them Indians used to do it.
right, exactly, where he could see out over the field, and eventually he could make out a deer with horns. He looked at it, acknowledged that it was him, right out in front of him. But he's got 20 minutes to wait, and he knows the rules, and he absolutely played by the rules, and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited, and I'll be darned if that deer, along with about 20 others, didn't feed there until shooting light, and he shot him.
Unbelievable.
He shot him right there. I mean, we knew that he was living there. We knew that he was living close, and we knew that the only way that we had a chance for him to kill that deer was to control the food. And so that's what we tried to do. We just talked to the farmer, and he helped us out with leaving the corn and sort of contouring it with his picker the way that we needed him to, and it worked out. So yeah, it was a big drop time. I sent you a picture of it, I think, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what a deal.
Yeah, but I mean, none of us would have gone in there at daylight.
Yeah, it's a tall task to get in clean.
Yeah.
Especially on one of those mornings like there's like 1 mile an hour wind, and it's like 30 degrees or a little lighter. It's super clear. Like everything is frosty and crunchy.
It was 19 degrees. It was.
Oh, yeah,
it was dead still. But the one thing that when we put that blind up, and I said to those guys, I said, I want to rototill a path to the stand. They said, why do you want to rototill it? I said, because I want it to be soft. Because it was gonna be my stand for the gun season. Once we got some reveal some reveal pictures of him, well, that quickly changed it. I just said to Chad, go kill him, and he said to me, go, hunt my acreage, and we did. But I think that just having that soft dirt to walk in on quietly, not the crunchy, corn stalks, etc., was a difference maker.
Yeah,
you could get in there without blowing.
I find though that there's pros and cons to that. I've actually done something very similar to that, and ran a disc over a spot, and it made it like when it finally froze, it made it really like that was the idea when it was soft, but after it froze, it was like so clumpy.
Oh, I bet
it just made it way too bulky to walk on. It was worse. So the next time I tried it, I dipped the living hell out of it, and then I took our lawnmower roller, our yard roller, and I just yard rolled a flat path right down the middle of that disc track, and boy, that was perfect. It was like when it froze, it was like he was walking on pavement. It was great.
Oh, that's a great idea. What we're going to do next year is we're going to plant that particular strip into alfalfa. And we're gonna rent the cornfield, pay the money to rent the actual cornfield, and have the farmer plant it for us, and then.
But no, that's suicide. You go to walking in on something like that, and you can literally hear deer running from like several hundred yards away.
It's like nuking the whole area. I mean,
it's over before it starts.
Right. So what happened with Troy's deer? Other than he killed an Ice 8.
We so he decided to get up and go to that old killing tree that he doubled on a couple of years ago for us that we videoed. Yeah. And that's one of his little favorite spots, and it's a great spot. And he had the right wind for it, and we're in that in between phase, Jason, with these deer where they're so burnt out from the rut and have been that I feel like the first 7 to 10 days of December, our deer here, just the switch flips and everybody sits on their tail and doesn't do anything for a handful of days. And it's really hard, in my opinion, to get on a mature buck this time of year for us. I've never had any real good measurable success with it. And those successes that I have had this time of year are really spotty, but he went in to that spot and he caught we needed a 3.5. He was, Troy will be the first to tell you, he sent me a message and he said, his side profile got me. And he wasn't trying to, bullshit excuse, go, he's not the biggest deer in the woods, but I wanted to fill a tag. No, he was like, I shot this thing because his side profile told me to, and I got up to him, and he was legit not near as happy with him, but it was an important lesson for him to have when he's hunting solo. He's been hunting solo now by himself as a kid for a few years, and I'm glad that he still appreciates the task at hand just to continue to go by himself. So he was a great buck. He's going to feed a whole bunch of people a lot of summer sausage and Slim Jims for the holiday. And but he's the only one of us that really caught much deer movement at all. And the level of I felt like the level of shooting that was heard locally and the number of animals that I saw when we checked in a couple times, they're just looking around. It was not that great down here this last weekend. But they're, like you said, those deer now, Jason, are starting to rebound, and they're starting to, get that concentrate pushing out to corn and
yep.
Food plots and food sources. Yeah.
What's
thermal cover a little bit.
Yeah. What's surprising to me, and that's kind of where I wanted to go is that, I've got a couple of reveals on that field, just because that way we don't have to go in there and intrude and check a card or anything like that. But we literally stay out anywhere close to there. And I think that long term helps us, because we just recruit other deer that have been pressured in other areas that, they've got the smorgasbord of food there. And there's no pressure whatsoever. Yeah. But dude, I can't get a picture in daylight.
Yeah, is that right? Maybe they're traveling long distance from, and better than I do. Some of them could be, or it's hard telling.
Yeah, and
but it's been sluggish.
It has. That's what I call it.
Thing. I'm seeing the same exact thing. So after Troy tagged his buck, and we got him out about noon. The kid was doing everything himself, from field dressing him to dragging him to getting his butt out of there with a tractor, and we didn't get out till about noon. We got back in the timber about 1:30 or 2. We weren't super early, but we were early enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so the wife was up to bat. The wife and I go into a spot that there was a bunch of down corn, and there's so much corn left over in that field that it's ridiculous, right? We set that sucker pickers for 2 nights. Yeah. We set that spot 2 nights in a row with the perfect wind and the perfect approach. Not a single deer, not a one.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't know. What do you? I mean, they have to eat. They've got to be hungry, regardless of the weather. Those bucks have to be wanting to put some LBs on.
There's so much corn there that there's no reason those animals were not up on daylight. It was a high pressure day. It was 35-ish degrees with a light wind. Like, dude, where are you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. It is so bizarre.
Inexplicable. I wonder what DeerCast says. No, it doesn't matter now.
I don't know. It was really slow for us this last weekend. I think a lot of second gun Illinois hunters the same way. It was slow, really, really slow.
Interesting.
And our, where our next spot of the season is this weekend. We get a Friday, Saturday, Sunday for muzzleloader only.
Uh-huh.
And then we're archery, buck archery only to the rest of the year. We do have some antlerless gun toward the tail end of the season, but if you want to get you a buck with a firearm here in Illinois, it'll have to be next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if you haven't done so or rifled them yet. And I think we'll see better movement next weekend. Everybody kind of shake off the post-rut hangover bullshit that we've been dealing with, and we ought to see some decent movement.
Well, I'm looking forward to Jackson getting home and spending some time in a tree with him,
Yeah.
and hopefully he'll be able to. I'm thinking I'm not going to have him try and use his vertical bow. I'm thinking I'm going to have him use a buddy's crossbow, just in the interest of keeping it simple. I don't. Unless he wants to. I mean, it's up to him. He's going to have to take some time to shoot in the backyard here, which isn't that terrible much to ask, but. And then I leave the day after Christmas to go down to Missouri for muzzleloader season, so that'll be fun. That opens the 27th.
How long is their muzzleloader down there?
I want to say it's 15 days.
Man, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, I'll be there.
That'd be a fun time.
Oh man, it is. It is. I can't really talk about it on the air, but it's a good time. It's a blast. No.
I can't really talk about it.
None of it's safe, and it involves shooting arrows straight up in the air, and that's just a bad idea. But it sure was fun. So we'll be there.
So are you going to go for the whole thing, or until you tag, or
no,
a few days?
Just 5-6 days.
Yeah.
And there's 10 of us that are going, so it'll be a good time. And you don't hunt the mornings. You never hunt the mornings. So it's always, generally a late night and a relatively late morning. I guess by my standards, you're up by 7-ish and generally go into town and get something to eat. And by noon, you're back out in the stand and waiting for them to come and munch on the salad, so to speak. So. It was fun last year. Saw a ton of deer, even though it was 60 degrees. But I'm hoping this year we catch some weather, because that's what you need that time of year. I mean, you can really do some damage later in the year when it gets that cold.
Our muzzleloader here is only 3 days, but it's like if I can get a pinch of snow right on the first day, and again, like you guys up where you're at, in Wisconsin, you guys have snow all the damn time. It's a luxury for deer hunters down here where we're at. Like when it happens, it's such a feat. It's so awesome. Like Katie bar the door, like call in sick to work and dive in. Like
right.
It is a lot of fun. And man, when you hit that snowstorm or just a little right around now for us in Illinois, and you find a hot active food source, hold on to your hat. It's a lot of fun.
It can be really busy. Really busy. I saw that in Missouri last year. Even when the weather wasn't cooperating, I mean, the deer on the right night would just hammer the standing beans, and I'd love to hear what people's experiences, and I guess I'd love to hear yours. I mean, when you see it getting that cold, do beans or corn make a difference? Like, is it one over the other?
It depends. It depends on availability of either. I think if you also have to look at it too on a calories consumed basis, like especially when the mercury is really, really down and they're trying to load up. I would be on corn if I had one or the other. I would probably be on corn over beans, but I do like beans for the sake that it's, you can shoot over. It's a food source that you can shoot over, and it's tactically, in my opinion, a better hunting food source than a bunch of standing corn. And we can't, here in Illinois, I don't really know the rules about farming practice and stuff like that as far as what you can do to your corn. Like I know some people consider farming practice where you can knock corn down with machinery and stuff. But anyway, like, corn versus beans is a preference of what I'd rather shoot over, really, versus what I'm going to worry about what they're doing as far as calories consumed. But corn is, of course, a higher energy content than beans. But beans have a lot of fat and oil in them, so there's give and take on both. Definitely pros and cons to either.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've seen it happen on both, and And I think it just, it's also a matter of what's available to them. If they don't have the choice of both, they probably obviously are going to just take one or the other. But
if I had like my ideal, like, boy, if I could have it just like this, would be perfect. Would be like an edge set where I've got the wind and I've got a bunch of standing corn at like 40 yards and beyond, and I got a bunch of standing beans below me from 40 yards and in, and it creates this like little woods short, tall timber, short beans, medium corn transition-y hallway, and I would love to have that anywhere. That would be just right.
So set that up for me for just a second, because I've got a question that just automatically popped into my head. So let's say you've got the timber to your back, the bedding to your back, which would be east, and the fields to the west, and you've got that first 40 yards as beans, assuming it doesn't get eaten off before the start of the season or whatever. How do you... I guess you get the wind in your favor by having it blow either right or left versus front to back, right?
Yeah, I'd probably quarter it. Yeah, I'd probably quarter the wind there. Yeah.
Yeah, like a southwest
setting like that,
or north.
And it depends on, of course, it'll depend on in your neck of the woods what the topography is doing too, whether they're up high or down below from you. Whereas here, I would consider it 80% flat, and I don't have a lot of topo air flow currents that I have to worry about.
Sure.
It just pretty much, flows through the timber like it's gonna, unless it meets a lot of resistance. But there's a pros and cons to setting up food plots, your neck of the woods. I like, one thing I usually do to my beans. So if I could set my food plots up like that, have beans and then a wall of corn behind it, I would typically go into my beans and overseed, broadcast, whatever you want to call it, some cereal rye or some oats or even winter wheat. After the, about the first or second week of October for us is pretty good to plant those sort of things. You can do them a little earlier than that if you want some more tonnage, but so that way you've got a little greenery mixed in with that. That's always a plus.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I was just curious what your thoughts were on that. Well, so you're going to get out one more time with the muzzleloader, or is that a separate tag, or have you punched all your tags?
No, gosh, I've shot mine all to hell. So I've got to go. I've got a buddy over in Indiana that's trying to rook me into going in on another wild goose chase or two of his, but we've been known to do that this time of year and trade hunts. If he wants, we'll just swap. He'll come over here and I'll go over there. If we've got the tags to do it, we'll do it. But I've got the boy actually has a muzzleloader tag. He's still got that one to burn yet, and he might be getting a phone call to the school about Friday morning that he's going. Might be missing school. Who knows? It depends on who I can get on. If I can get on one or two bucks that I'm hoping and praying made it through first and second gun, he's going to get the flu. He's going to get the flu, not COVID. He's going to get the flu about Thursday night.
Sure. And there's no way you can overcome that by Monday morning or by Friday morning.
Yeah, no, he's going to have to. He's going to have to just hang out and go with me. Yeah.
Right. That's the only.
So I'm going to try to get him. I'm going to try and get him on one, and may try it over in Indiana. But for the most part, I'm no joke. It sounds like BS, but for the most part right now, I'm trying to start focusing on what I'm going to do for next season. I've already pulled 3 or 4 stands out that I know I'm not going to need, and making. We're not going gangbusters and moving, a million things out of the woods all at once right now, but just starting to piece, a little bit at a time and getting everything ready for the cycle all over again,
Here we go. Yeah, it'll be over again before we know it. And then we'll be...
And shed season. Boy, I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah. Hey, I got to tell you, I was out Saturday, speaking of shed season, I was out Saturday
Uh-oh.
and I was walking some timber with some clients up in northern, we'll call it north central Wisconsin, more north than central. And we came across a tree stand with a TV antenna used as
Oh,
a
no.
ladder. Yep. And that son of a gun was grown into the tree at least 6 inches. And you know what? I took pictures of it, and I thought of you immediately because you know what they wrapped it around the tree with?
No, they did not.
Binder twine. I'm just like, really? Twine, really?
Oh my God, no!
Yeah, that's a bad
That
deal.
must have been some really good. That must have been some really good baling twine.
I would say so. Yeah. But
Holy cow! You have to be a man with balls the size of grapefruit to trust your life to a rickety former television antenna and some baler twine.
they didn't even use barbed wire fence. They used baler twine.
Which is significantly weaker than barbed wire fence.
Right.
But easier to get in and out of the stand. Less barbed.
Yep. Yeah, it's it takes out one element of danger.
Right, like.
But inserts yet another. I think I would take the poke and the tetanus shot before I would take
falling
being
30
on
feet.
that son of a gun when it falls over. Oh,
yeah,
man.
if I don't have a tetanus titer by now, I'm not gonna. So let's just take that option. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those old stands, man. Old stands are something just fascinating to me. You know, like we've talked about it a bunch, Jason and I, and you know, the gnarlier and the crazier in appearance, the better. Like we used to build our own stands, and sometimes they were sketchy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to see those, to see some of them still being used, I think it's awesome, for one. But please be safe. And two, like, that's old school. Who doesn't like old school deer hunt stuff?
Right. Absolutely. I know Josh was going to hunt that stand. I don't know if he did or not because we lacked a wind, it seemed like, all year for that spot. But the one that you had found last year. So I never heard if he did. But Mr. Perfect is still alive as far as we know. No one's got a picture.
Really?
Of him. Yeah, I have not. I have not been back over there since before rifle season began. I didn't get to gun hunt over there at all. So hopefully I'll get over there. Honestly, I don't know whether I'll get over there before the first of the year or not. But I got to check cameras, and hopefully he'll surface. It'd be fun to see what.
Yeah,
he does
that's
as a 6-year-old.
the next thing on my list. That's absolutely the next thing to do on my list is. Yeah. Boy, I've got to get busy and start retaking inventory. It seems like every year this span in between like the last millisecond of daylight of gun season and the first actual, good quality buck that, made it through. Mm-hmm. It's such a lag. It's just such a pull on me during this time of year. And it's a tough time of year because the weather conditions get tougher, but you just got to go back to those like summer strategy basics.
Yep. Only
in the opposite and re-inventory. You got to start scouting, glassing, taking trail camera inventory, and then when those food sources get hot and you got one that's still alive and kicking, go make it show so that he's not. It's
right.
Tricky,
yeah,
tricky.
We'll have to do a show on that coming up here on the first of the year. on
I'm looking forward to
post-season tactics.
And, I'll tell you who I'm rooting for on our team is Zach up in Indiana.
Yeah, those boys are out pounding it this weekend, aren't they? Or this week?
Those guys are, you bet. Those guys, he would just soon deer hunt in December all year long.
Right. Yeah, he'll be relatively close to me in the end of December here. He always does that hunt in Illinois. I think
Jim Egger.
I think he's gonna do it again. But I think Justin's down there right now too, isn't he?
I haven't heard from Justin, but I think so. I knew he was headed down there for that.
Yeah, cool. Well, hey, we can probably wrap things up. We've spent more time than we normally do. We'll have another grind episode yet. I thought we were going to be done, but we're still grinding.
Yeah, might as well.
All right, man. Well, have a good night. Be safe.
Yeah, you guys too. Thanks for listening, everybody. Take it easy.
Yeah. Have a good one, man.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Well, there you have it, another episode of the White Knuckle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show and hope you picked up a few nuggets of information along the way that you can use down the road. I want to take just a second and thank our partner in this endeavor, and that is UC Hunting Properties. Without them, this couldn't be possible. You guys all know that I work with UC Hunting Properties, and they're actually nationwide. I would encourage you, for any of your property needs, go to www.uchuntingproperties.com. Thanks for listening. Jason out.